what are the reasons behind the phenomenon of wolf warrior diplomacy being pursued by China in the recent years? It's a good question. So, this wolf warrior diplomacy is essentially a more vigorous and more more assertive diplomacy that the Chinese have been pursuing under the leadership of Mr. Xi Jinping. So traditionally, the Chinese have had a very different style of diplomacy, right? They had a leader called Deng Xiaoping who basically rescued China from the ravages of the Mao era, and he brought China back to normalcy. And then he started making China a more powerful country. And he had this principle, Tao Guang Yang Hui, which means keep a low profile, bide your time while also getting something accomplished. So he wanted China to work quietly, steadily towards its objectives, towards of building a more powerful economy and a more powerful military, and building a powerful diplomatic system, etc., while keeping a low profile. So during Mr. Deng Xiaoping's time, the Chinese diplomats would basically they would avoid controversy, and they used to use cooperative rhetoric and cooperative language with everybody else, right? So they were very polite, they were very self-effacing, and that was the kind of approach the Chinese diplomats had. Now, under Mr. Xi Jinping, China has a very different approach towards everything. So Mr. Xi Jinping believes that China's time has come now. He's advocating his country people to have four confidences. Four confidences. This is the approach he is advocating. He's saying the Chinese people should have confidence in their chosen path, the chosen path of the Chinese Communist Party. They should have confidence in the political system of the Chinese Communist Party. They should have confidence in the guiding theories of the Chinese Communist Party, and they should have confidence in the Chinese culture. These are the four confidences. So now China is becoming an increasingly strident and nationalistic country, and the diplomats have totally changed their approach. They are now very happy to court controversy. They are actively courting controversy on various media, Twitter, Facebook, not Facebook, Twitter mostly, and in the statements they make. And they are now using very confrontational and aggressive rhetoric in their statements. So this is the new approach of the Chinese diplomats, and this is what is now being termed as wolf warrior diplomacy. So this coincides with China's so-called rise. China is much more confident now. It is a much more assertive nation, and it is not afraid to make strong statements and take a confrontational attitude in its diplomacy. So that is essentially the so-called wolf warrior diplomacy. It is named after a couple of Chinese movies.